Good morning, 5 a.m. Mester Scrum Show. I hope you're doing well. It's trash day here in Philadelphia, and I can hear the trash blowing down the street. My poor neighbor, whose trash cans I heard. Anyway, happy Friday, everyone. 5 a.m. Mester Scrum Show. 3 things for today. I'm going to talk a little history communication. It's just fun. Got to have some fun. I went and picked up these glass insulators. I got a couple ceramic ones. For the train museum, I want to build a telegraph thing. So I'll talk about this a little bit. And then we're going to talk about Scrum events in the order and why they are the way they are. And it's just not a random thing. And then we'll do Fortune Cookie Friday. And we're going to do that. And it's Betty Girls. Betty Girl. Oh, I'm so tired. It's her favorite day because she wants a cookie. She wants a cookie. Anyway, so good morning, 5 a.m. Mester Scrum. I am Greg Mester, Scrum Master and Agile Coach. Got all the trash out, got the kids off to school, so that's good. So Friday kind of drags on a little bit for starting the show. I apologize for that. And we talk about Scrum and Agile in a practical and tactical way so you can bring value to your customer. Not working crazy hours. Everyone wants to work crazy hours and have some fun, right? So we're going to talk about fun stuff today because it is Friday. Why not enjoy? I had fun yesterday. I picked up a bunch of insulators, about 42 of them. I got a good deal. The guy had it. So I envision. So we always talk about Scrum and Agile, and this is part of the value, the visioning process. So one of the things I envision doing in our museum is to build a little telegraph setup. And one day I'll show it on the show when I put it together just to see how it works and make small parts. So I got these parts to go into it. Now I just got to get the little things you click and they go and do the dashes and dots. And when I get that, I will videotape it and I'll post it up, share with you all. But I wanted to share some history. This is pretty neat. Got some glassware. Okay, it's from a Hemingway, and it says 16 on it, and that's the year of the molding. So it was 1916, but this particular design has been used for a long time, so it's kind of hard to tell when it was actually made. I'm thinking it was made a bit later because it's got a real good square. You can see the square here, edging versus a more subtle as the molding's got a little better. So, but it has the round dots versus really jagged edges dots. So I'm thinking it's a little bit older in its life. Let's see. Oh, the other thing I like about, they call it 7-Up green. So I thought that was funny. That's the description. But in theory, they should have things that were made after 1933 had mold dates on them. So that could be even older. Don't know. I have to do more research. Here's another version of one. This is a 19. Let's get the 19. See if you can see that. The thing has a little 19 on it. And it says made in USA. The neat thing is it's got the little insulator. So the wooden part would screw in there and it would just sit on top of the pole. And the communication wires would go through. So that's pretty cool. So we're going to build these and put the wires on it and do the communication. Now this one's interesting. So here again, it's a white one, and it says 42 right there. See if we can get that 42. But on the back side, apparently, I don't get the mold number is there's a 14 on it, and then it has on the back 1948. So it was built in it was made in 1948. It's got the double. It's got this. So that's why I'm thinking this is more a newer design versus there's some that has a real jagged design. And it has 3 little dots on it. I don't know if you can see little dots, but there's 3 little dots. And the 3 little dots is a year after. So it was made in 19. So what they did, they put the base year in 1948, and then each dot was a year after that. So it would have been, 53? So 1953. So this one's from 1953. So it's pretty cool. I'll just show you a couple. I got 42 of them. So there's all kinds of different years. I just try to get something that had some different looks at them and stuff like that. So it'll be fun experiment to build up for the museum. Just a little telegraph thing for kids to telegraph each other across the museum. Yeah, I think it'd be fine to have an interactive one. So that's a little history. That's our history fun. I wanted to share that with you just because I think it's neat. And it talks about communication. And a lot of the stuff we talk about in Scrum and Agile is about communication, right? So I figure this is related to Scrum and Agile in my weird way. So the next thing I want to talk about is event order in Scrum. So many times I get with teams and they do retrospectives after the sprint's over, or they do a demo after the sprint's over, or they do the retro before the review and all that kind of stuff. And I want to go over what some of the purposes behind the order and where it becomes important towards the end. So you have your sprint planning, plan out what you're going to do in the sprint, right? You have your daily Scrum. Every day you talk about how you're getting to your sprint plan, what's blocking, what are you working on, how we're progressing through the sprint plan. Then there's two events at the end, the sprint review and the retrospective. Ideally, the review comes before the retro. Why? When you do the review and you present to the customer, you're going to get feedback. You're supposed to get feedback from the customer, whether it was good or not, and you're ready to go to production. That's what you're supposed to get, right? Then the retrospective can then cover everything that went involved in the review. Did we do something wrong? What did we do right to make the customer meet the customer expectations? You retrospect on that. You retrospect on the whole sprint. The key thing, and everyone's like, oh, this is new. I'm like, well, this has been a long time. In the retrospective, you're supposed to come up with an action item to improve your process and incorporate it into the next sprint planning session. And that's what people miss out. A lot of times they'll do retros or reviews after. So what if your customer says, oh, I like that, but I need you to change this? You're not getting that change into your sprint backlog for the next sprint if it's post sprint planning. Then you have to go back, take something out of the sprint planning and make room to do this extra work. And that's why you do it within the sprint before the next sprint planning session goes. And the same thing in the retro. Okay, let's say you decided something was not working right and you want to change it. However, you start the sprint and then you do the retrospective. Well, you miss out on and taking that item that you found that you wanted to change and putting it into your sprint backlog so it can get worked. I mean, you can work it, but then the question would be, what are you going to take out of the sprints? Because the idea is that you're not working crazy hours and you're trying to get improvements every sprint. So if you keep waiting, in theory, if you take it to the point, you wouldn't incorporate those changes until the next sprint planning session. So you miss a whole sprint for any changes you got from the customer during the review and any changes that you want to do as part of the retro. So the idea, there's a particular reason why they do it in that order. And people say, oh, why? What's the impact? What does that? When you give me that answer, it tells me you're not really understanding the purpose behind the events in the order which they're given. And maybe you're not doing it right. I mean, that's a serious thing, right? I mean, there are times when there's exceptions when stuff comes up. But then when you do your sprint planning, you say, hey, we're going to take a story off our backlog because we know we're going to do review after sprint's over because maybe the customer's on vacation, right? That happens. People are on vacation. They're not there, especially in the holidays. Okay, fine. But let's do a notch less in the sprint planning or a couple of story points less because we want to make room for any kind of changes we need to do based on the feedback we get. And people are like, oh my God, what are you doing? But that's how you do it. So you take that into account. So it does happen. You can be flexible and you can move around stuff, right? So that's it. So I just want to review that with people because I hear that all the time. And I'm like, what don't you understand? What you get from the retro, you're supposed to have an action item that goes in the sprint planning. If you do the retro after sprint planning, then how do you get it in the sprint planning? I don't know. Maybe you need to radically change the way you're doing things. Maybe it's wrong. Maybe it's bad. Maybe it's bad code. I mean, why would you want to, if you got 50 bugs on your code, why would you want to do another sprint with 50 bugs in it? I don't know. I wouldn't. So it gives you an opportunity to change it. So with that, It's Fortune Cookie Friday, Betty. Betty, Fortune Cookie Friday. Oh, of course she's looking. She's like, oh, Fortune Cookie Friday. I love teasing her. She's terrible. I'm a terrible dad. All right, so Fortune Cookie Friday. What are you thinking? So what happens on Fortune Cookie Friday is the Agile accountants seal a message in the cookie and in the bag, and we notice sometimes they don't put nothing, and we have to figure out that quality issue. But there should be a message in here. The one thing is I can do every once in a while is I try to look inside the cookie, and I can kind of see if there's a message. So there is a message in here. So the Agile accountants gave us a message for us to talk about related to the show, Scrum, Agile, maybe glass insulators, history. I don't know. We'll see. And it's funny how accurate these things are. So we're going to open this up. Ugh. Opening up the Fortune Cookie. And I'm putting the cookie on my keyboard. Teasing the dog. Okay. Here's what the Fortune says. Let your intentions create your methods and not the other way around. Oh, that is interesting. Let your intentions create your methods and not the other way around. So what they're saying is don't let your methods, your procedures create your intentions. Your intentions should dictate your process. So you could do it either way. In this case, I'm going to apply it to the exception when I said your method is that you do in that particular order for events, right? So the method is you do a specific order. You do planning, daily scrum, review, retro, start over again, right? So if your customer could not be there for the review, does it make sense still to hold a review? No. So what they're saying is this helps dictate that exception. Let your intentions create your methods and not the other way around. So the intention of the Scrum order was allow you to get feedback from a customer, get feedback of the team, and then incorporate that into the next sprint planning, which is usually a day or two later. But if you followed the guide to a T, and you did planning, daily scrum, review, and retro, but your key stakeholders couldn't make the review, or half your team is out for retrospective, like they're all on vacation or something, like half the team's out, does it make sense to hold it? Does it make sense to put it on the other side? And that's where you get that exception. It's like, okay, we're going to do the retro next week because half our crew is on vacation or the customer's on vacation. So we're going to do the review and retro following after the sprint start. We're just going to make room in our sprint planning to take on any activities. And if we get no activities, we'll just pull something in from the backlog, the product backlog, into the sprint to get to the velocity we want to achieve. So there you go. They're pretty darn smart, these Agile accountants. So with that, I'm going to say, have a great day. Betty's slobbering all over my pants leg because she wants a cookie. You want a cookie? You got to show your face though. You got to give me likes with the cookie. Come on. Oh, because my finger. Okay, she's happy now. All right. You have a great day. Have some happy scrumming. Enjoy your weekend. We'll be back tomorrow. Oh, God, she just drooled all over my leg. Lay down. You'll get the other cookies. Oh, now she's all intense. I got to get a picture with the cookie. So have a great day. Enjoy it and stay healthy. Bye. And see ya.